Ẹ mà ńlẹ́ níbẹ̀ yẹn ò nílé lóko. Ẹ sì kú dédé àsìkò yìí. Hello everyone, it's Adirunke again. I hope your day is going well. Today I'll be addressing another AfroLatinidad Òrìṣà song. This one is more popular in Cuba and it's titled Ogunde Arere. That's kind of how it's pronounced in Lukumí, but it's Ogunde Arere. Ogunde Arere. So it's the result of the separation of Yoruba language speakers from their native land and the influence of Spanish, that it sounds different from the original after such a long time, a couple of decades, many decades actually. There are two versions that I'll be addressing. There are so many renditions of this song, it's hard to keep up. But I found one from a 1957 recording and another one from the musical group Abilono or Abilona, if that's what you know them as, Abilono. So I'll be examining the slight variations in the renditions, but the main message is really the same across the board. Some words are the same across the board. In the 1957 version, the words go somewhat like Ogunde Baba Arere Ile Bobo Logun wa. Ogun banile, Ogun balona, Ile Bobo Logun wa oge. The main singer says the verses multiple times, so at some point it sounds like okay, and then at another point it sounds like ode, and at some point it sounds like a. So I just put the three so that you can choose whichever it sounds like to you. I'll tell you what each means and I'll let you make your choice, I suppose. There's the Abilono version and it's somewhat like that as well. Baba Ogunde Arere Ile Bobo Logun wa. Ogun onire. I wasn't sure if they said onire or onile. It could have been both, but at separate times. And then there is Ashowalona or Washowalona, something like that. Ile Bobo Logun wa ode. Ile Bobo Logun wa. I'll link the videos so that you can listen. It's probably best if you listen first and determine what it sounds like to you and then come back to this video. If you're not familiar with the songs that I'm about to address, then you probably won't even know what I'm talking about. But I've tried to sing it somehow. So if you already know the song, then you can keep watching, I suppose. So the 1957 version, is it Cabrera and Tafara version? The one that Smithsonian now has a copyright of. Ogunde Baba Arere Ile Bombo Logun wa. Ogun banile, Ogun balona, Ile Bobo Logun gba ode. The Yoruba form of that, if you're going to adjust the pronunciation to sound more like what it would have sounded like back in the day, the words are Ogunde Baba Arare. Arare. We like to combine words. So Ààrẹ Ìrè became Arare. And then it became Arere. It just became Arere, but it's Ààrẹ Ìrè. Ile is really what it is. There is Ile, which is house, but I don't think that's what it is in this song. It's Ile. As a result of the Spanish influence, words like o, bi. Not words, I'm sorry, letters. Like o, b. G becomes yi. So the pronunciation changes. The letters that have children underneath or tails or whatever you choose, the o, I think it's just those two. They somewhat become non-existent in these songs. They don't exist in the Spanish alphabet and they had to speak more Spanish than Yoruba. I don't even think they wanted them to speak any Yoruba. They wanted them to learn how to speak Spanish and quick and communicate with that alone. And I think in America, there was a similar occurrence. They don't want you to speak your native language. They want you to learn the learn the English, even if they don't want you to read any books or improve it in any way. They just want you to be able to speak it and not speak your native language, so that you don't devise like any plans or come up with any dubious means to discuss your freedom and stuff like that. So it's ile gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ile gbogbo l'Ògún wà. The third line, I wasn't sure if it was Ògún bá nílé or Ògún wà nílé. It could be both. At some point, it sounds like ba, and at some point, it sounds like wa. And when you listen, you know what I'm talking about, especially this rendition and several other ones. Ògún bá nílé, Ògún bá lọ́nà, or Ògún wà nílé, Ògún wà lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún gbà. At some point, it sounds like ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. At some point, it sounds like ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún gbà. Again, it could be both. Ode or okay or a, could be any of those three. The second verse sounded like this in this rendition. Ogunde Arere, Ogunde Arere. So I figured it's either Ogunde Arere or Ogunde Arere or Arere. I'm giving you every possibility so that you can make your choice, at least what makes sense to me. Sometimes it's hard to really tell what it could be, so you just present all the options and then choose whichever feels like it to you. But either of these two sentences or structures would make sense. Ogunde Arere or Ogunde Arere. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ògún onílé, Ògún ọlọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún gbà. Ode. And the chorus is Ogunde Baba Arare. Baba Arare or Ogunde Arare. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ògún bá nílé or Ògún wà nílé. Ògún bá lọ́nà or Ògún wà lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún gbà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ile. In the rendition, it was something along the lines of Ile bobo. Again, gbogbo became bobo because the B letter became harder to pronounce as the decades went by. So it's gbogbo. Ile gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ile gbogbo l'Ògún gbà. In the Abilona rendition, the first verse was something along the lines of Baba Ogunde Arere, Ile gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ògún onire àjọwà lọ́nà. Ile gbogbo l'Ògún wà ode. Something like that. Baba Ogunde, Baba de Ogunde. In this specific album, it was Baba Ogunde Arere, Baba Ogunde Arare, Ara Ìrè, Arare. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ògún onire. In this album, it was more like Ògún onílé at the beginning. You could hear clearly that it was onílé, but then I suppose at some point, or probably not this album, in another rendition, it was very clearly onire. Ògún onire or Ògún onílé. Wáṣọ wa lọ́nà. In one rendition, it's aṣọ wa lọ́nà in another. Ògún onire or Ògún onílé. Wáṣọ wa lọ́nà or aṣọ wa lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ode or okay. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ode. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Okay. Depending on what you feel like. Either makes sense. Then the second verse. Alágbẹ̀dẹ arere àwa méyì. In the rendition, it was more like Aláwẹ̀dẹ arere àwa méyì. Alágbẹ̀dẹ arare. Alágbẹ̀dẹ ara Ìrè. Àwa méyì. At first, I thought it was àwa méjì. But then I was like, that doesn't sound like it. Just because I already know that G oftentimes becomes yi in Lukumí words. Lukumí words are Spanishized or Spanish influenced Yoruba words. So many times Ji becomes Yi, Meji becomes Meyi, and then Ibeji becomes Ibeyi and stuff like that. So I thought it was probably Awab Awab Meji, but I was like, nah, just take it for what it is. Awab Meyi. It clicked, like that makes sense. Alágbẹ̀dẹ Arare àwa meyi, bàbá ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ògún onírè or Ògún onílé. Wá ṣọ́ wa lọ́nà or aṣọ́ wa lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Òde or ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Okay. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òde. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà okay. Depending on what you feel like. And then the chorus is Ogunde Arere, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ògún wà nílé. Now, because this part wasn't that clear to me in the rendition, the tonal value is like pretty diluted and watered down. It's a miracle that I can listen to these songs and know exactly or almost exactly what is being said. It still baffles me that I can listen and understand, despite the fact that this was a long time ago and these songs have been preserved. It's just, I can gush over that fact for the rest of the day. But I'm just going to move on and say, this part sounded like okewa, but it could also be okewa, could also be that. Either would make sense, perfect sense, but it could be okewa lona or okewa lona. Ogun wa nílé, okewa lona. That was how it sounded like in the song, but it could be okewa lona. Could also be okewa lona. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà e. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà e. Next, I'm going to tell you what the words mean. Lukumí is Yoruba, but it's Spanish influenced Yoruba. So I've adjusted it, the words, to sound more like Yoruba, and then I'll tell you what the words mean. For the now Smithsonian-owned record, Ogunde Arere, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ògún bá nílé or Ògún wà nílé. Ògún bá lọ́nà or Ògún wà lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún gbà. Òde, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún gbà. Òde or okay or a. Ogunde. Oggun. I have a video dedicated to what the word Oggun means and the function of Oggun. Oggun, very versatile, even in the human incarnation, was a farmer, a hunter, a warrior, would travel and fight wars, I suppose, or battles. Shouldn't say wars. It helped with the protection and the preservation of certain places, sort of a nomad in some way. Also a blacksmith. I don't know how a person can fit so many roles into one incarnation, but they were versatile. Ire is one special place that they are associated with. Now, depending on who you ask, some would say that Oggun was, there at the very beginning of the establishment of Ire, and in fact was the one who established the town and all that. Another set of people would say, nah, that's rubbish. That's like far from the truth. The people who say that just say that because Ogun has been associated with Ire for so long. They think that's true. That the human Ogun was just passing by, and because of the hospitality of the people of that place in present day Ekiti, he decided to make the place home. And it was very protective of the place. Sometimes it's even hard to tell where Ogun was born exactly because he was such a traveler too. He went there to assist them, and he was just amazed by their hospitality and decided to call the place home. Had a safe haven for himself there or something like that. It really depends on who you ask. Different accounts. De is to arrive. It's a word that has multiple meanings. So in this context, de is arrive. In another context, it could be to cover. If I say de agolo or de ike or de igo, cover it. Cover the bottle. Cover the tin. It could be cover. Shut it. It depends. But in this context, it's arrive. Baba is father. I have a video on that as well. explaining that although father is the closest English word, when you break the word down in and of itself, it's not necessarily father. I've explained what it means in and of itself. Arare is a conjunction of the words Ààrẹ Ìrè. Ara is member of or inhabitant of. If you say Ààrẹ Ilé, a member of the house, a resident of the house. If I say Ẹ bá mi kí ará ilé yín, greet the person that you share your house with for me. Greet your neighbor. The houses were sort of communal too, so maybe somebody that one shared a building with, a resident of, an inhabitant of a place. Ara, ará ilé, ará àdúgbò. Aráàlú, a member of the town, inhabitant of the town, resident of the town. So Ara, resident of or inhabitant of. Ìrè is a place in Ekiti. Is Ekiti a state? Ekiti, Ado Ekiti, state and capital. Yeah, Ekiti is a state. Ekiti state, present day Ekiti state. It's a town there, Ìrè. And they do the Ogun festival annually. Every other one would just be like smaller ones. The main ones happen once a year. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo ni Ògún wà. Ilẹ̀ is land. Ilé, house. Ilẹ̀ is land. Gbogbo is all or every. L'Ògún. L'Ògún is a conjunction of ni Ògún. Ni is. Depending on the context, it could be is where, is what, is why, is when. Whatever would come after the is would be implied based on the sentence structure for the purpose of your translation to English or another language, but is where is what it is in this context. The where is implied. Ògún, ni Ògún, l'Ògún, wa is be, but for the purpose of translation, say is. Every land is where Ògún is. I won't necessarily want to say every land is where Ògún be, because that's like pidgin English. So every land is where Ògún is. Yeah, the is implied. Now, you would notice that I underlined this l'Ògún. Some academics, I don't have post-secondary education in Yoruba, so I have to tell you what is going on in the academic settings and let you at least know. But I don't bother myself with it too much. At the higher level, some people would prefer that you not write l'Ògún this way. You know, there's the proper noun. A lot of these things are influenced by English language rules. Instead of writing l'Ògún this way, they would prefer that you write it this way so that you can identify that, you know, a person is being mentioned, a proper noun is involved in the conjunction. But if it's not a proper noun, then this is correct, this is incorrect. You can't put an apostrophe, it's not necessary. This conjunction works. I personally don't buy that idea that much. If you're saying li Ògún, I don't know if you know that li is a synonym of ni. It's just a dialectical variant. The Bible was the first written document, you know, that was published, that was put out with this current way of writing. So fun fact. Li was how ni was written, and I think that's the Oshogun dialect. Li, if it was li Ògún, and you say, okay, if you're combining, you say l'Ògún, then maybe it would make sense to me that you, I don't know, keep the apostrophe, but I don't necessarily agree. It's a tonal language. I see where they're coming from. It kind of makes sense to make it clear, I suppose. But I don't, then it's no longer a conjunction. At this point, you just write ni Ògún, because what's the point? Same number of characters at this point. So it's up to you. If you want to go with the academics and use the apostrophe when you do the combination, good. If not, then you can write your l'Ògún this way, like we illiterates would. And yeah, good luck. Anyway, I just thought I'd let you know. I don't know if there's anybody with a BA in Yoruba or a master's that wants to tell me what they think or what they were taught in school and how they write it. I've been writing it this way. I really don't see a reason for this, but I wouldn't obsess over the writing thing too much. Written Yoruba has changed over time. There have been a lot of changes, maybe less now. It has slowed down a little bit, but over the years, there were a lot of changes with how words were written and even tonal marks and things like that. Ogunde Arere, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ògún bá nílé, Ògún bá lọ́nà. Ogun ba is to preside. It's the word in Oba. It's the word in Baba, to preside over. Wa is. So if you say Ogun presides, is what you'd be saying. If you say Ogun is, depending on what you choose. Nile, ni is, ile is home. The combination of both gives you Nile. Ogun ba is to preside. If you don't say ba and you say wa is. Lono, ni is on. In this case, it could be in or on or at. Versatile preposition. Or no is to stretch out, so the thing that stretches forward. Road, path, way. Ile gbogbo logun wa. Ode, ile is land, gbogbo all or every. Ni Ogun. see how I chose not to use the apostrophe thing. I'm stubborn. Logun, ni is where, is implied in this case. I think I said that earlier. Ogun, wa, to be or is. Then Ode, o is he or she or it. It's a versatile pronoun. E, because we know we're referring to Ogun. O, de is to arrive. And if you say okay, Ogun is called Alagbede Oke, especially in a lot of Lukumí songs. There's Alagbede Oke, any more. Okay, the top, up, hill, Ogun is referred to as Alagbede Oke, so it would make sense as well. Then A would just be musical emphasis. So depending on what you hear, at some point they say, Ile gbogbo logun wa ode, ile gbogbo logun wa oke, ile gbogbo logun wa e. Ode, okay. A, whatever ending you choose, these are their meanings. So when you put the words together for that first part, that first verse, then it's Ogunde Arere, Oggun arrives, resident of Ìrè. Ile gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Every land is where Oggun is. Ogun ba nílé, Oggun presides at home. Or Ogun wà nílé, Oggun is at home. Ogun ba lọ́nà, Ogun wà lọ́nà, Ogun ba nílé, Ogun wà nílé. Ogun ba lọ́nà, Ogun wà lọ́nà. Oggun presides at home. Oggun is at home. Oggun presides on the road. Oggun is on the road, sort of suggesting that Oggun is away from home. Ó wà ní ìrìn àjò, ó wà lọ́nà, away from home. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òde. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òkè. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà e. Every land is where Oggun is. He arrives. Every land is where Oggun is. If you end with Ode, he arrives. If you end with okay, then that's up, top, sort of suggesting raise him up, lift him up, stuff like that. Something along those lines. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òde, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òkè, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà e. Just musical emphasis. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. Just musical emphasis for the ending. The second verse for the 1957 rendition, Ogunde Arere. I couldn't tell if it was that or Ogunde Arere. Ogunde Arere. Ogunde Arere. So I think I made a mistake here when I was recording. I intended it to be Amonoje Arere. Amonoje Arere. But the way I read it here, I read it like there was a comma after the amono. So I kept saying amono, diarire, amono, diarire. The former, the first, amonoje is amono, allowed. So it's like something that is already done. The way that I read it when I was recording, as if there was a comma after the amono, I made it seem like it was a plea, like amono, let us. It was opposed to Amono has already done that. Amono already let us. It's something that is done. So that's a call out. I kept saying Amono Jarire as opposed to Amono Je. So that's the difference. Amono Jari, let us see. But when you say Amono Je, that has already occurred. Amono has already let us see goodness. Has already done that. So just one thing to keep in mind. ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún wà. Ògún onílé, Ògún ọlọ́nà, ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún gbà ó dé. Ogunde Arere, ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún wà. Ògún onílé, Ògún ọlọ́nà, ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún gbà ó dé. The meaning of the first, if you go with Amono Eji, Arare, de is to arrive, Ogunde. Amono is a combination of three words. A, mo, ono. A, the one who. Mo, no, ono, the way or path. Eji is two. It implies second. Arare, ara, inhabitant of Ire, a place in Ekiti. If you don't go with that and you go with Amono Arere or Amono Arere, Ogunde, de is to arrive. Amono, a, the one who. Mo, no, or no, the way or path. Je is allow. A is us. Ri is see. Ire is goodness. I have a video on what the word Ire means. I broke it down. I have another one on what Ibi means. I broke it down as well. Ire, goodness. Ri, ere. Ri is see. Ere is gain, benefit, advantage, reward. Ri, see, ere. Reward, gain, benefit, advantage. So it could be either. It could be rire, it could be rere. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo ni Ògún wà. Every land is where Ògún is. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo, all or every land. Ilẹ̀ land, gbogbo, all or every. Ni is where Ògún is. Ògún onílé. Onílé, the one who owns or the one who has. Ni is to have. That's the verb in that noun. The one who owns. Ilé is the house. Ògún ọlọ́nà. Oni, the one who owns. Ọ̀nà, the road or the path. Ògún onílé, Ògún ọlọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún gbà. Ilẹ̀, land. Gbogbo, all or every. Lògún, ni is where. Ògún is Ògún. Gbà is also another word that has multiple meanings. To fit is one meaning that it could have. Say if I wear a shoe and I say bàtà ìgbà mi or aṣọ ìgbà mi, this cloth or this dress or this shirt, buba, this buba, this shirt fits me. Buba ìgbà mi, to fit. It could also be to take over, to receive, to take. It could be to receive, to accept or agree or receive. That's another thing. But it could also be to take from somebody. Mo gbà àwo lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀. I took the plate from the person. To take over. Wọ́n ti gbálẹ̀ mi. They've taken over my land. Ode, he arrives. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún gbà ó dé. This one was clearly gbà. Like the gbà was so clear. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún gbà ó dé. In the rendition, it was ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún gbà ó dé. If you go, Ogunde Arere. Ogunde Arere. Ògún arrives, the one who knows the second way, the one who knows the second path, resident of Ire. And if you don't go with that, you go with Amono Arere or Amono Arere. Ògún arrives, the one who knows the second way or path. Amono Arere. Let us see benefit or reward. If you say Arere, let us see goodness or blessing. It depends on you and what you choose. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún wà. Every land is where Ògún is. Ògún onílé, Ògún ọlọ́nà. Ògún, who owns the home. Ògún, who owns the road. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún gbà ó dé. Every land is where Ògún fits. Every land is where Ògún takes. He arrives. This particular rendition is very clearly a Ògún supremacy type of song. Like Ògún is everywhere type of rendition, actually. Ògún is everywhere. Ògún has authority everywhere. The home, the road, in Africa, on the outskirts of it. Ògún takes over every land. Is powerful everywhere type of song. And I know that you would have noticed by now. Every land is where Ògún fits into, or every land fits Ògún. Ògún is suitable in every land. Every land is where Ògún takes. He arrives. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún gbà ó dé. Ogunde Arere. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún wà. Ògún onílé, Ògún ọlọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo lògún gbà ó dé. The chorus is Ogunde, Bàbá Arare ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ògún bá nílé or Ògún wà nílé. Ògún bá lọ́nà or Ògún wà lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún gbà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún gbà. The first part, Ogunde, they arrive. Baba Arare, resident of Ìrè. I said Ìrè. Ìrè, a place in Ekiti. Ogunde Baba Arare, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Every land is where Ogun is. Ogun bá nílé, Ogun bá lọ́nà. Bá preside, wà is. Nílé at home, Ogun bá lọ́nà, Ogun wà lọ́nà. Ogun presides on the road or on the path. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Every land is where Ogun fits into, takes over. Or if you don't go with ba and you say wa, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Every land is where Ogun is, and then the a is just for musical emphasis. Ogunde Arare, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ògún bá nílé, Ògún bá lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo. This one was clearly ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún gbà. So when you put the words together, Ogunde Baba Arere, Ogunde Baba Arare, Ogunde Baba Arare. Ogun arrives, father, Baba, resident of Ìrè. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Every land is where Ogun is. Ogun bá nílé, Ogun presides at home. Or if you say Ogun wà nílé, Ogun is at home. Ogun bá lọ́nà, Ogun presides on the road, or Ogun is on the road, away from home. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Every land is where Ogun is. Ogunde Baba Arare, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ogun bá nílé, Ogun wà nílé. Ogun bá lọ́nà, Ogun wà lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. The Abilona version. This one sounds very protection-based. The older one is more supremacy, Ogun supremacy centered. This one is more like will protect us. It has themes regarding protection. Baba Ogunde Arere, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ogun onílé, àjọ wa lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òde. That's what this album contains. Baba Ogunde Arare, Ara Ìrè, Arare. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ogun onírè or Ogun onílé, depending on what you hear. At the beginning, it sounded like onílé, but then I think around the second verse, or in another rendition, it sounded like onírè. So I don't know, it could be either. Wàṣọ wa lọ́nà in one rendition, but it sounded like aṣọ wa lọ́nà in this one. The we letter wasn't so pronounced, so it sounded more like aṣọ wa lọ́nà will, rather than come and protect us. Sounded like will protect us. So it could be aṣọ wa lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òde. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òkè. Either works. The first part, Baba, father, Ogunde. Ogun arrives. Ara Ìrè, Arare, inhabitant of Ìrè. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Every land is where Ogun is. Ogun onírè. Ogun, the one who has or the one who manages Ìrè. And if you don't say Ogun onírè and you say Ogun onílé, Ogun, the one who owns or manages the house. So depending on what you go for, if you go for onírè, then that's what that is. If you go for onílé, then that's what that is. If you say wàṣọ wa lọ́nà, come and, the end is implied. Ṣọ́, protect or guard. Wa, us. Ní ọ̀nà. When you combine those two, you get lọ́nà. So lọ́nà is a contraction of ní ọ̀nà. Ní is on. Ọ̀nà is the road or path. And if you say aṣọ wa lọ́nà, Ogun onílé, aṣọ wa lọ́nà. A, will. Ṣọ́, protect or guard. Wa, us. Lọ́nà, ní ọ̀nà, on the road or the path. Ogun onílé, aṣọ wa lọ́nà. Another thing with the Yoruba Lukumí difference is she became chi, ache, acho. Ṣọ́ became cho. So you hear that. Ogun onílé, aṣọ wa lọ́nà is what you hear. Aṣọ wa lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òde. Every land is where Ogun is. Ode, he arrives. Or okay, raise him up. Okay. So when you put the words together, Baba Ogun arrives, resident of Ìrè. Or if you leave the Baba out, Ogun arrives, resident of Ìrè. Every land is where Ogun is. Ogun who manages Ìrè. If you say Ogun Onire. Ogun Onire. If you say Ogun Onile, if Ile, Onile is what you go for. Ogun who manages the house. Come and protect us on the way or road. Or that is if you say Wa, come and. If you say A, will, there's certainty that he will. Ogun Onile. So I only just realized that Onile was another possibility. I kept saying Onile, but I never considered Onile as well, since protect us on the way or protect us on the path, protect us while we're away from home is really the next line. So I thought I would mention that as well, that Onile is a possibility, the one who owns the land. Ogunire will protect us on the way or on the road, outside of the home, so to say. Ile gbogbo l'Ògún wà ode. Every land is where Ogun is. He arrives. Ode, or every land is where Ogun is. Raise him up. Okay. Really depends on what you choose. Then the second verse. Alágbẹ̀dẹ arere àwa méjì. Again, I thought it was méjì. It's not fantasizing my spirits. It's not working. So I was like, àwa méjì is most likely what it is. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Every land is where Ogun is. Ogun onire aṣọ wa lọ́nà. Ogun onílé aṣọ wa lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òde. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òkè. Alágbẹ̀dẹ. In the song, it was Aláwẹ̀dẹ arere. Like Alágbẹ̀dẹ Arare. Alágbẹ̀dẹ, the blacksmith. Arare, the resident of Ìrè, the inhabitant of Ìrè. Àwa méjì, àwa, we, mọ èyí. To know this, mọ is to know, èyí is this. Àwa mọ èyí, we know this. There's a level of certainty that we have that Ogun is on every land. Ogun exists on every land, is everywhere. Baba, father, ilẹ̀, land, gbogbo, all or every, ní Ògún, l'Ògún, is where Ogun is. Ogun onire. It could be Ogun onile, depending on what you go for. Onire, Oni, Ìrè. Oni, the one who has or manages Ìrè. It's a place in Ekiti. Or if you go for Onile, Oni, the one who owns or manages Ile, the house. Wa, come. Or if you go for A, will. Showa, protect or guard us. Lọ́nà, ní ọ̀nà. Ní, on. Ọ̀nà, the road or path. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òde. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òkè. Ilẹ̀, land. Gbogbo, all or every. L'Ògún is where Ogun. Wà is to be. Ode, he arrives, or okay, raise him up. So the words, when you put them together, are Alágbẹ̀dẹ arere àwa méjì. Àwa méjì. Alágbẹ̀dẹ arere àwa méjì, the blacksmith, resident of Ìrè. We know this. Every land is where Ogun is. Ogun who manages Ìrè. If you go for Ogun onire, or if you say Ogun onile, Ogun who manages the home. Wá ṣọ́ wa lọ́nà, come and protect us on the way or road, outside the home. Or á ṣọ́ wa lọ́nà, will protect us on the way or road. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òde. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà òkè. Ode, he arrives, okay. Raise him up. Every land is where Ogun is, he arrives. Or every land is where Ogun is, raise him up. The chorus and the last part. Ogunde Arere, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ogun wà nílé. This one could be òkè wà lọ́nà. It could also be òkè wà lọ́nà. I'm not sure, but I'll tell you what either means. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ogunde Arere. Ogun arrives, resident of Ìrè. Every land is where Ogun is. Ogun wà nílé. Ogun is at home. Òkè wà lọ́nà. If you say òkè wà lọ́nà, because Ogun was, and still very much is, referred to as Alágbẹ̀dẹ òkè. So òkè might just be like an epithet, like a nickname, just òkè. Especially in this case, instead of going the full Alágbẹ̀dẹ òkè. Ogun is at home. Ogun is also on the road or path. So there's an omnipresent thing being expressed here. Ògún wà nílé, òkè wà lọ́nà. Ògún is at home. The hill, the mount. Another way of expressing Ògún is on the road or path still. And if it's not that, it could be òkè wà lọ́nà, because again, the tonal value is diluted. So it could also be this when you think outside the box. Ògún wà nílé, òkè wà lọ́nà. O, E, it could be she, it could be it, but because we know we're referring to Ògún, E. Care is to care for. That's the verb at the end of my name. Care. To care for, or to pamper, or to nourish. Wa, us. Ni, ono. Ni is on. Ono is the road or path. Ni, ono. Ògún wà nílé, òkè wà lọ́nà. Ògún is at home, but it cares for us while we're away from home, or it cares for us on the road or path. It's not stuck at home. It cares for us everywhere we are. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà é. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà é. Every land is where Ògún is. So when you put the words together, Ogunde Arere, Ògún arrives, resident of Ìrè. Every land is where Ògún is. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ògún wà nílé. Ògún is at home. If you say òkè wà lọ́nà, the mount or the hill, great one, so to say, the one at a high level. If you want to break it down even further, you could use that as an epithet, an epithetic name for Ògún. Ògún wà nílé, òkè wà lọ́nà. Ògún is at home. The mount is on the road. Sort of a way of saying Ògún is at home, but Ògún is also on the road at the same time. And if you don't say òkè wà lọ́nà, if you go with òkè wà lọ́nà, Ògún is at home, but he also pampers us. It takes care of us while we're on the road, while we're away from home. It could have been the home there in Cuba, just like their physical home, literally. I don't know how old this song is. It doesn't sound like one of the ones that they would have known before they moved to Cuba. There were a lot of songs that they forgot and they composed new ones. There are some that we sang back in the day that there are newer ones now we don't recall. So one advantage of looking at these songs is you merge songs. Now you have more songs. You bridge the gap, so to say. So it could have been the home there in Cuba, like their literal home, as simple as that. Or it could have been more. Ògún is at home. Òkè wà lọ́nà, yet he pampers us on the road. He pampers us when we're not at home, Or it could be Ogun Onire, the Ògún of Ìrè, pampers us on the road, pampers us away from home. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà é. Every land is where Ògún is. Ogunde Arere, ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà. Ògún wà nílé, òkè wà lọ́nà. Tàbí, or Ògún wà nílé, òkè wà lọ́nà. Ilẹ̀ gbogbo l'Ògún wà é. So, your choice. For your consideration, whatever you choose, whichever you like works. Either makes sense. If you have any questions regarding this video or requests, I've been taking requests, but I know I've not been keeping up. But if you have any, don't hesitate to let me know. You'll be quite surprised. I might just pick yours next. I never have a permanent schedule. I just do what I feel like. So if your request interests me, then I'll probably just do it next. Who knows? Thank you for watching and for your time and for your support. Enjoy the rest of your day and bye for now.
Olómi ńlé fẹ̀jẹ̀wẹ̀ ọ̀là sọ nílé fi mọ̀ kí mọ̀ bóra mọ̀rìwò sára Ògún yagbá yògbò ọ̀rọ̀ Ògún lè wọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ Ògún ṣòro tẹ́ ẹ bá ti gúnyán ẹ fi tògún sílẹ̀ tẹ́ ẹ bá rokà ẹ fi tògún lẹ̀ tẹ́ ẹ bá ṣe èwo ẹ fi tògún sílẹ̀ torí pé Ògún ló kọṣu Ògún ló roko Ògún ló pàjùbà Ògún ló kọbè mọ́ṣu kíṣu fi jiná wọ́ọ́rọ́wọ́ Ògún Onírè ọkọ mi látàyè ẹ̀jẹ̀ mọ̀ kókó dòtí rú mìnìmìnì. Aláìmọ̀kànmọ̀kàn ní sọ pé bí Ògún bá gbalẹ́gbodò àwọn sì ìgbòkò lọ wọ́n ti gbàgbé pé ìsà àtọ́gbalẹ́gbodò lè gbòkò lọ́wọ́ ẹni.